That's right, I see the chat. I see y'all rocking, I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building, you know what I'm saying? Hit that like button, show your love, show your support, you know what I'm saying? This that dope soul, this that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Recap and Reaction Show. I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen, joined by Geoff Klafter from the Happily Ever Klafter Daily Sports Blog. Knick Nation has been joining us of late, elevating the program. The Knicks won last night in Philadelphia, 112 to 109. You either have two takes. This was a gritty win. They found a way to pull it out, or they did everything they could to give it away and survived. I'm interested to see what the panel and the chat have to say about that. I will say this to start. You need time, and I've said this multiple times, to win high leverage games and to win in the playoffs, you need timely shots and timely stops. You can have somebody or a team playing really, really great, and then in the crunch time, they miss a key shot. It's all for naught. And then you can have a team struggle the entire game, figure out a way to stay in it, but they're struggling. And then the last crunch time, they hit some key shots, get some key stops, and they win the game. I thought last night that was the Knicks. You know, we'll talk about OG Anunoby overall, but that timely putback, that timely three-pointer, and that timely steal to seal the game. Sometimes that's what you need from a player. Like, yeah, you may have struggled, and I'm not saying he did, but just in general, you may struggle throughout the game, but in crunch time, what are you doing to help your team win? And I thought those three plays, and we'll talk about Landry Shamet also had a clutch three. You're going to need that. You're going to need these timely shots and stops to close out games and close out series. And the Knicks, despite some other finagling, and we'll get into that, those few plays I thought really, really helped them at least be in the game to try to close it out. Geoff, Knick Nation, just talk to us just briefly, a brief overall take on the game, and then we'll get into specifics. Geoff?
Well, you know, this game kind of reminded me of some of the early season wins in that we played one really good quarter of basketball, and then the rest of it was kind of like a mixed bag. I thought the Knicks played about as well as they have all season in that third quarter, especially on the defensive end, the 30-13, you know, and battling through adversity because Towns got in foul trouble and he left the game and Robinson came in and it was, they just put the gloves and the clamps on him, and it was Robinson and the starters mostly who did the damage. And you know, I was laughing about it in my head because I was like, Robinson played so much in the third, he's not going to have anything left for the fourth quarter. And right. and I know we want to get into this later, but how I think that one of the critical things that may get missed is that Anunoby played the 5 down the stretch. And did a fantastic job against Joel Embiid. I mean, if you want to talk about that, so is the you know, for him to anchor, and some of it was out of necessity, right? Because you know, Towns had already fouled out, and Robinson, they didn't want him to play hack-a-mitch, you know, and give away points in a close game. But to have the luxury to have a guy like OG and have him step up and make all the plays. Yes, you hit it on the head. He did it on both ends, but you know, I knew this was going to be a weird one from the get-go because I turned on my TV and we're having weather in West Texas, and they had the cancellations across the bottom of the screen, and you couldn't see the score. I was like, I can't watch the game if I can't see the score. What's going on? And so I changed it to they have an overhead view, like above the rim view that was an alternate station. So I had to watch it on that, which meant, and it wasn't a great experience overall just from a viewing spot. So I knew it was going to be tough from the get-go, but you said brief, so I guess I better hand it over to Knicks Nation. I used up more than my allotted.
Yeah, we'll get into the specifics. Knick Nation, your overall thoughts on the game last night?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna just head right where he was. A tough, gritty, grind out win. I thought OG's play sums up what we have to do moving forward and what we did during that game. Also, before I even start, I would like to recognize big shout outs to the chat. You guys are here with us this morning. Believe me, it is not what's named by the wayside. That, you know what I mean? Good takes, bad takes, you know, the David Smiths, the Darlene Bryants. You know, we appreciate you. You know, I'm not going to say everybody's name, but definitely, you know what I mean? To get up with us this morning and discuss this is not overstated. I thought OG's grit, you know, so it's the mindset for me. You know, he knew he wasn't shooting that well. So what did he do? He grind down and hey, he dunked the ball. You're 6'8" player, good size to you. You know what I mean? And I thought that his toughness and grit kept us around at points in the game. Of course, the captain was the captain. You know, we'll go into the foul cat situations. I thought the adjustments in this, like you say, in that third quarter were definitely what turned the whole, you know, I mean, that turned the game around. That grit, the bench, guys coming in, may not have shot so well, but defense, you know what I mean, wins the point of the game. That first quarter was an indicative of what we do as far as giving up like 30-something odd points. That's not a winning recipe. And we were able to turn that around from the average points of the first half to squeeze things down and get out with a win. Ugly win. The officiating, I guess we'll go into that later, ugly as well. But hey, to come away with it somehow, to find a way. You know, I said on the KRT show before, you know, went on there, and my big point was, I really don't care who does what. You simplify what's, put the ball in the basket. I don't want to care about nothing else. So thank you, Steph, for having me this morning.
Of course. Boy, I don't even know where to start. I guess we'll go with the third quarter. I'll go with that third quarter. I think it was tied at the half.
We were down 4 at halftime.
We were down 4 at halftime. Okay, down 4 at the half, and came back, and we could barely get on the court. The Knicks could barely get on the court. Nick Cat picks up his 4th foul. He's back out the game. Here comes Mitchell Robinson, and that team in the third quarter did a phenomenal job. They closed that period on a 25-9 run. Embiid had 468 points in the first half. He had 0 in that third quarter, and you could see the energy of that team. And maybe, listen, he played 46 minutes the game before, talking about Embiid. Maybe he was wearing down a little bit. Okay. We took advantage of that. If that was the case, we took advantage of it. We capitalized on it. I thought Mitchell Robinson was fantastic. Embiid had to work for everything he got in that second half. So just it was a chance to see what the Knicks can be defensively, right? With certain lineups. Yeah. Anything on the third quarter, and then you guys can, pick whatever you want to pick next.
Well, from what I saw in the third quarter, to me, it was really a case of being very active as far as working over screens and fighting through and staying with your man and an effort that's really been lacking for a good portion of that 11 game stretch that we had where we went 2-9. We didn't really see that a whole lot, but they were it didn't really matter who was in that third quarter. They were fighting over screens, they were communicating, they were helping. They weren't over helping, but they were staying in their spots, they were locked in. And Philly just had a hard time. I mean, you hold a team with that much firepower, and make no mistake, they had all their guns yesterday. And Maxey was there, George was there, Embiid was there, and Embiid was on fire. So it wasn't like he was having a bad game. Edgecombe was there, and George didn't have a particularly good game, but the other three, did. And so we were able to weather that storm, and in the first half we had the layup line, and I mentioned on the previous show what it would look like if we focused on shutting down the three. And then we saw what that looked like, right? They were like 2 of 7 from 3 in the first half, but everything to the rim was a layup line. And I think they shot 65% in that first half. And then by the end of the third quarter, I think they were down to 51, which is a significant drop off. And just, and I'm wondering if maybe this is just a team that we're only going to get really one good quarter of defense out of and hope that it's going to be enough. You know what I mean? I don't know if they can put it together and sustain it for 4 quarters or not. Certainly, certain lineups are more conducive to playing well defensively than others, but I'm curious about that moving forward.
I mean, before I hand it over to Knick Nation, I think that's how we're going to have to go, Geoff. Some lineups are going to be much more offensive minded. Some lineups are going to be better defensively. It's up to Mike Brown to figure out what lineups we need. I think even those lineups that have Cat and Brunson, if they can stick to the defensive team principles, just be where you're supposed to be. I think that I think that would help a lot as well. Yeah. Philly scored 109 points, overall, and the third quarter had a lot to do with it for sure. Knick Nation, any thoughts on the third quarter? And then you could add and then you could pick the next topic.
Yeah, the third quarter, specifically the third quarter, I thought Brown and the team made a great adjustment. Schematically wise, I haven't got a chance to really watch the game again, but schematically wise, I thought that the adjustment they made was tremendous. In my mindset and what it looked like defensively, what we did was attack Maxey. And they made a decision to say, hey, we'll give everybody else, different looks or one-up looks. But what we will do is we will blitz. We will double Maxey. We will force Maxey into a corner. We will force Maxey to have running shots. We didn't let Maxey settle. We didn't let Maxey get around the corner and get downhill and attack us, truly down in the paint. Maxey then began to settle more for jump shots, moving jump shots, and things like that. We forced him into bad positioning, which I thought was much better. We were able to figure out all the pin downs, particularly in that third quarter, which didn't allow them open, clear 3-point shots. So things like that. I thought those adjustments specifically in the third quarter really worked in our favor. I think it was a blessing point that Cat did get some of those fouls, which then, we brought in people like Hawk Porty, then turned around, later on in that game and let OG. And I think it just gave him so many points of a different looks and physicality and bodies to go up against 4 different individuals. I thought stifled him in the second half. He began to, take ill-advised shots, and that ultimately promoted us to push us forward in the game. To me, that was great. But then in the fourth quarter, I just thought that Brown, for some reason, fell asleep at the wheel. I had a real issue with Mikal going 3 for 16 and Mike Brown not recognizing that his player just offensively was not there and didn't have it and should have pulled him a lot earlier before that momentum. I thought it was the momentum swing that hurt us and made this game way too close and way too ugly at the end.
Yeah. He did not shoot well. Doesn't mean he didn't play well defensively. And again, I shift my focus. So when I was focusing on him guarding Maxey, I thought he did a good job. Once I shift to watching somebody else throughout the plays, he could have fell off. He could have fell off. But, he took 19 shots. Like for me, I called for him to be aggressive. He was aggressive last night, 19 shots. He took 9 3-pointers. He didn't shoot well. But you can shoot well. You could not shoot well and still play well. I didn't think he shot well last night, and I thought he played okay. I was happy with the aggressiveness last night. I feel like we need that from him. He's a fairly efficient player. And again, as Geoff has pointed out multiple times, sometimes when you take more shots, the efficiency drops. I would like to see it though. I would like to see him take more shots, and let's see if the efficiency um, drops. Um, yeah, I didn't even notice. Thank you for pointing that out schematically in terms of what Brown was doing to Maxi in that, in the second half. The fourth quarter, I think we're gonna have to line up when we start talking about the players in the fourth in the fourth quarter down the stretch. But I hear you starting with Bridges. Geoff, anything you want to say to piggyback off of what Nick Nation said?
Yeah, we love the Knicks a lot more than they love us for that fourth quarter they put us through. I'm just going to say that. But I don't really have as much a problem with Bridges or even most of his shot selection. To me, the foibles in the fourth quarter were a lot more about missing free throws and not taking care of the ball than they were Bridges being, an unabashed Chuck. I mean, a lot of the shots that he took, I thought were decent looks that he didn't knock down, but Deuce was 3 for 11 in the game himself. Between them, I think they were 2 of 17 from 3. It's interesting that Shamet continues to become a poor man's Dante DiVincenzo as we move forward here. He really is stepping up his game. Hit the massive 3, but again, he missed a free throw also. Like we had a bunch of guys who, if you just take care of business at the charity stripe, this game does not get to cardiac pack levels of stress, right? And
we missed 14, Geoff.
Yeah. And Brunson missed a pair in the final minute. I think Hart missed a pair in the fourth quarter. I know that OG missed a big one, and Shamet missed a big one. So that's like it's at least 7 misses in the fourth quarter alone. Yep. I mean, and that's the difference between you just cruising to a 10-point win and you. And they missed 7 free throws as well. But I mean, still, it felt like, to me, when you're missing down at crunch time, that's like it's almost like you're tensing up and you're panicking a little bit. And we kind of have seen that from this team in the past. See Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. We have a tendency at times when the pressure ramps up, we make bad turnovers. We have these little psychic meltdowns, I call them, where we just nothing goes well for us, and we weathered the storm and we survived, and credit to us. But it's those, it easily could have come back and bitten us on yesterday afternoon.
Yeah Geoff, where do you want to go next?
Oh, great question. I think that I want to talk about Mitchell Robinson. I just thought his play was outstanding. I I think it helps when you get him a couple of lobs and you let him, get in the flow of the offense. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might have been saying things, but didn't he take the ball from the top of the key and yam it on somebody? I mean,
they were overplaying him.
Yeah.
He just went the other way.
Yeah. And so if you can get him a couple of those opportunities, I think that it speaks volumes. We just needed him yesterday. I mean, Towns was in foul trouble. I think part of it was maybe his, we weren't even sure if Towns was going to play because of back spasms, and I'm wondering if maybe that had an effect on him long term. But I really thought that Robinson changed the complexion of the game completely in the third quarter, and really it was funny because you didn't really see his impact as much, in my opinion, the rest of the game. But during that stretch, he was dominant, and in the fourth quarter and in the second half, really, after Joel Embiid absolutely got whatever he wanted to in the first half, they did a much better job and on him, and that was good. Now a lot of that was OG down the stretch, right? But still, I think that Robinson had I think he had 10 rebounds and a couple block shots. I mean, just a really good effort from him, and in 27 minutes, and so if he's able to, if he's able to give us that more often. I think, and maybe even in tandem with Cat, I think it really opens up a lot of possibilities for this team. But David Smith has the right word when it comes to consistency. We've seen it. Now we need to see it, more often than we do from him sometimes. But he was great yesterday.
He was. Knick Nation, you want to piggyback off of that?
Oh, sure, definitely. Because as people know, I call Mitch the anomaly because, just of what he brings to the game. And like you say, Geoff, that definitely the game was wrapped up in a nutshell between free throws, which is the 2 points of two things going two different ways. And as far as I believe we outread the offensive rebounds, I think we had about 19 overall over on them. And as far as, as second chance points. So I thought that those were two tail tapes of the game in a sense. Our point of missing these free throws at the end, or missing, I believe it was 10 overall free throws, right? We were like
14,
55.
I think 12 or 14.
14. Somewhere we were like 50 something percent, 51, between 51, 54%, I believe. That definitely you have to clean it up, and to do that on the road and to get still out with a win is a slight miracle there, just to to scrap it out and to get out with that win, because you're right, we would have nobody but to look at but ourselves to turn around and to miss that many free throws.
It was 12, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, but it was 12. Yeah. 15 to 27.
Yes, thank you. The when you miss that much and that many free throws, as a team unit, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't one person, everybody was across the board, missing free throw points down in. And those are uncontested open shots from a set point that you have to, you have to knock down. But once again, though, Mitch and Hart coming up with those, with those rebounds, that to me was the point of the winner of the game. That to me changed the whole shape and the narrative of the game. Because if you allow that team to also, on the other end, for us to get defensive rebounds and not allow them second chance points, I think in the second half, I think they may have gotten 2, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just off the top of my as far as second chance points, as far as Philadelphia.
I don't know about the second half, but I know overall it was 26-4.
Yeah, I think 2. I think 2 came in the end in the fourth quarter. But overall, we contained them. And if we can learn to grind purely on defense and project our offense off of our defense, we are a much, much better team. It's the focal point, though, is a lot of times is we'll get into a rhythm, and then what we want to do is face more of our energy on offense as opposed to more of our focal point being on defense and reflecting off that and getting runs and getting downhill and taking, and getting and hitting timely shots. If we can keep our mindset to focus on defense and divert our energy there, I think we always have a chance to win, and particularly on the road. So that's just as far as my take on that.
How consistent of a defense do you think we can have? Like, do you think, how capable of being a good defensive team is this? Like, are you of the mindset that with Brunson and Cat, you can't expect too much? What's your expectations of the defense? And the same for you, Geoff.
My expectations is that we can. Brown obviously has centralized it back to a point of, if you notice, really our bench, it's defenders. Shaman comes in, he may hit a few timely shots, but he's a defender. Deuce coming in, defender. As far as Mitch coming in, defender, rebounder, you know what I mean, and changes points of dynamics of the game. Those three guys coming in with that mindset, and not just having the mindset, having the capabilities of doing what it takes on defense. I like, as far as Shamit coming in and Deuce coming in, the reason why I like them so much as far as on the defensive end and attacking as far as the ball handlers, the reason why I like them so much is because they square up as a schematic on defense. They square up on narrow seams. They don't open their hips and saying, here, I'm going to give an NBA player matador defense, open my hip and allow him to get into a rhythm or get into a motion and then try to stop him. They are stifling guys and saying, here, you pick it, but when you go do pick it, I am going to try to anticipate and beat you to that spot. Whereas opposed to where, unfortunately, we had a couple of guys come in and their defensive points are not in the right direction. And I think Mike skimmed it down in a sense is because he felt that, hey, even if I have these young players coming in and getting minutes, they're not following what I'm looking for on defense. And the reason why they're not following what I'm looking for on defense, because I got my veterans doing it wrong. They're following behind veterans who are doing it wrong. And if the veterans doing it wrong, the chain just does not move, you know what I mean, in a pure continuity moment. And I think that him scaling it down has allowed him to focus on personnel and those little small details and clean those up. So I think if you have those clean, when you bring a guy in and he hasn't played, a long time and this and that, it's like anything else. Because, I mean, I remember being young and my first point coming in is a lot of times you are going to follow what that veteran's doing. And when that veteran's off point or just that point of details, so are you. So are you. And I think that has been a big adjustment and a big cleanup. And hopefully moving forward, that continues so that the defense and the young ones, know if they get their moment, your moment is on the defense first. Your moment is not to come in and say how, you know what I mean? Hey, clear out. You know what I mean? I like the kid Diawara and what's name is, but hey, coming in and hey, you clear out and what's names, and your focal point is not really hard line defense. That point it to me. So hopefully moving forward, I think we can, because it's a mindset.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point. I think it's a roster issue, but the point you bring up is that he took Clarkson is no longer in the rotation. So he's tightening it up so that you can argue that it's just Brunson and Cat now in that rotation who are not good defenders, right? Because Shaman is not playing. Yabu, who I don't think is a terrible defender, but last night he only got 2 minutes. Kolick is not in the rotation. So it's like whether it's due to you just historically can't play good defense or whether you're having defensive lapses, whatever it is, we're tightening it up. And last night, basically, Mike Brown played 8, right? Huck Porty played 4 minutes, really good minutes, by the way. Yabu
Yes.
played, 2 minutes. But he's really tightening up that rotation. Geoff, your thoughts on the Knicks defensive prospects?
I don't know, because it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Because we had a 13-point third quarter and we allowed over 30 points in each of the other 3 quarters. So it's and that's what I meant when I said, like, maybe this is a team where you're only going to get 1 quarter of defense, like where they're just locked in and focused for whatever reason. I don't know. They're certainly capable. I mean, they showed that in the third quarter, but then we the other 3 quarters, we were just not good defensively. And, I thought in the fourth quarter, it was more of not taking care of the ball and not taking good shots. And that led to, led to easier looks in transition the other way, and we got in the penalty early, I think, so that led to some foul shots and those sorts of things. But I think that's the big question with this team, right? When we've been bad, it's because our defense has been a 27th, 28th ranked defense in the NBA. When we show some heart on that end of the floor, and we pick up our effort and our hustle, then good things happen. Like that's what we've seen, and so the potential is there. It's up to Mike Brown to really unlock it for more than a quarter at a time, and I'm not really sure why that is. Again, part of it, I think, stems from us not really having an elite point of attack defender. No disrespect meant to Deuce or Shamit. They're good, but they're not top flight, in my opinion, either one. And so, and it's definitely not a Mikal Bridges strength, we know, and OG is not going to be able to do it on, guards either. And so you don't really have that, as you pointed out, roster issue wise. I think that's kind of what we're seeing, and again, I appreciate Nick Nation for talking about the blitz and using, because that's one way where you can kind of mute the weakness, right? Because if you can get the ball out of that person's hands and then rotate properly and fight over screens and do those sorts of things, that certainly helps. And so from those things along the margins, I think we can get better. But if we're, I struggle seeing this as a top 10 defense with the personnel that we have, and that I think that might put a cap on our postseason aspirations.
I'm at the point, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, I'm at the point where I'm willing to give up on the 5-out offense. And I get it. And I felt that way too, that having an elite offense is the way to go. It's unstoppable. And if you have an elite offense, if you can have a number 12 defense, maybe even a number 13 defense, you might be okay. The Knicks, I'm not sure the Knicks are very, I'm not going to say smart. I'm not going to say smart, because I don't think that's what I'm trying to say. The Knicks haven't shown to me that against the really good teams that are able to, they haven't shown this to me consistently, that against the really good teams who are able to take away their first and second option, that they have the patience and the process to work that offense to get the best shot available. I just don't see that in them. And so if you have that type of team with that type of patience and process, then I'm like, you know what? Go 5-out, because this team not only has the talent, but they have the wherewithal, the process, the smarts to figure it out no matter what the team is. So because this 5-out is more than just having the players with the skill set. You got to have the mindset. You got to be smart. You got to know. You got to be patient. You got to be able to look. I'm not sure we that. So I don't know. Maybe Mike Brown does have to start optimizing these lineups for defense a little more, even if it takes away some of that 5-out offense, because I'm not so sure we taking maximum advantage of it anyway when we do have those lineups in there. And so then what happens then is that it can easily get bogged down. If you're not processing quick enough or running through everything that's available, it can bog down quickly. And now you don't have defense in there either to back it up. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of at this point where I'm like, maybe we need to be more 4-1, which effectively we are with Josh Hart, right? Because even though he's shooting better this year, teams still aren't respecting him. So they still laying off of him, a little more. Maybe we need to go more 4-1 and just kind of give up on the 5-out space. Play it some. Don't get me wrong. Play it some. But maybe not be so sold out to it. And I think Mike Brown is coming around to that as well, with Clarkson being out the lineup, Yabu Bailey playing. the young players barely playing. And this, other than Hart and Cat, who you pretty much have to play because they're just dominant offensive players, even though Cat's not playing that well this season, those are the only concessions we're making. It's just, now, I don't know if that's just for right now because we're just trying to get back to where we were, and then maybe he'll open it up, a little bit more going forward. But I'm with him right now. Tighten it up. Go with some more of these defensive lineups, and 5-out offense. We'll see you from time to time. I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming to, having watched this team for a little over 40 games.
I fortunately think it's more than just even a 4-1. A lot of times it's 3-2 because the true lineup a lot of times,
Right.
which we do have to lean on, is Mitch and Hart. And so Hart is a bit of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde as well too, because sometimes his mentality comes in. I've always repeated this. His mentality sometimes comes in, which frustrates me when he doesn't look to get his offense, where he doesn't look to even focal, just to even, I'm screaming some Hart, please just look at the basket. Hart, just look at the basket sometime. Is because when he doesn't and his shoulders are shifted every place else besides the basket, I think that hurts us in ways. So it's particularly with Mitch in there, because you take away, if the defense, it focuses on anybody else, all of a sudden now, you know what I mean? It's now 3-2 as far as on an offensive skill point. And you can't, that part to me, not that you can't, because obviously it is working in certain points, and I still like to see it, but I just like for Hart to kind of focus his point down and say, hey, Mitch is in the game at point. I've got to somehow still try to get to baskets, clean shots, or what's name. You have to take them. You got to keep the defense honest. And when he doesn't keep the defense honest, I think that ultimately begins to hurt us in a bit. But overall,
Great point.
We just got to find a way. We just got to keep finding a way and grind and doing whatever it takes. And to me, the reason why I'm definitely on the never trade Mitch, we like to talk about Mitch's little off-season kind of things, but during the season typically, and when game and those things, I've never heard the guy bitch about anything. I just hear him, no matter what time, what situation you put him in, he gives his best effort. He gives his, for whatever he can. Mitch grinds out and gives it to us. So that's why I'm always on the what's name. I'm not going to pick at the point of Cat too much anymore. To me, at this stage, that's low-hanging fruit. We all know what it is. We all can see it. There'll probably come a time where these 2 points, these two things split apart. You know what I mean? And not that Cat is I'm going to say a bad player. I'm not going to put him in the point of a bad player, but I'm just going to say for what his skill set and what's names, I honestly just don't think it matches what this team has and needs.
Ooh. I don't know. I think I'm going to go the opposite on that one. And I'm going to say that there's no chance, absolutely no shot at winning a championship without Cat. None.
Oh, no, I agree with that.
Oh, okay.
I just don't think that overall in the length of it, if we can get there with him, which I am a little on, is because it's not his skill set. It's this. And this is not matching his skill set. So
This
we all
season.
know
That
this
wasn't
season.
last season, though.
Yes,
But
definitely
that's
not
my
what I'm saying. But also, I still agree, even also, what Tibbs got out of him, would that have carried us, at that next level against that OKC? I don't think so. I think that their defense, when it grinds down to it, that their athleticism and their defense would also frustrate Cat, and Cat would do the same thing and disappear, because it's still not his skill set. It's what he does up here, and the fact that I can't depend on him up here disturbs me deeply.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that as far as this season is concerned. But I've seen Cat for 11 seasons. He has this is not like a young player where you don't really know who somebody is. And he's had his ups and downs in the playoffs, don't get me wrong. He definitely has. But he's also had some shining moments as well. To me, this is the worst he's looked from a mental perspective. And something is off. But I'm not going to take that and believe that this is who Cat is. Like the worst of Cat right now mentally, I agree with you. I'm not going to take that to mean that this is Cat overall mentally. It's after seeing him throughout his career with the ups and downs, something is definitely amiss. And you never hear me talk about the officiating ever. But the officiating on Cat and the Knicks, in my opinion, lack of response to this, whether they're sending tape to the league, whether they're picking up technical fouls, whether they're challenging some of those calls. It's just, to me, it's just getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. Those two calls on Embiid when he was contesting the shot were not fouls. Now, if you felt like he got Embiid with the body, then you should have called it there. But when he was contesting, even if he did touch his fingertip, it was like a hair touch. Twice. Terrible call. And he gets roughed up every time he puts the ball on the floor. Now, this is no excuse for Cat, because two things could be true. A player could be struggling, not being efficient, making some boneheaded mistakes, and at the same time, not be getting a good whistle, and something else may be off with the team or with the dynamics of the team. All of that can be true. But the
Tony Brothers.
officiating on Karl-Anthony Towns last night and the entire season, like, it is just getting out of hand. And Mike Brown might need to come to a press conference and pick up a $500,000 fine. He might just need to come to one of those post conferences and just let the officials have it, because it is out of. I remember Thibodeau did that last year with Brunson, getting roughed up every time I don't know if it made a difference, but something needs to give with these. But you're right in terms of Karl-Anthony Towns mentally. If what we're seeing from Karl-Anthony Towns right now, if this is going to be him in the playoffs, we have no shot. I agree with you. If what we're seeing from Karl-Anthony right now, this is going to be him in the playoffs, I don't even think the Knicks make it past the first round. They just don't. But I just think he's better than this. I just don't think this is who he is. That's my only difference. Geoff?
Well, it's funny because with Towns, he opened the game with that long 3-point make. And I think he shot it from the Liberty Bell, and he made it. And I was like, ooh, maybe this is going to be a big Towns game, and then bad whistle and everything else, and here you go. I still have faith in Cat. He's in a rough patch, rough stretch, whatever you want to call it. I'm not really sure, but he's a better player than he's played this year for sure. I mean, this is the worst shooting season of his career, and I have faith that he's going to come out of that and he's going to just normalize it. If he just does that, then we're better off. I really don't understand the way that Towns gets officiated. It's very puzzling to me. I just want consistency. Like, is it a different rule for guards than it is for bigs? Because I see every guard in the league get that contact bump and they're going to the free throw line right away. You do it to Towns and it's no big deal, and then he hooks the arm, and he does that twice a game now, and it's a foul for him. And the thing is, you can't even challenge it because the hook is real, and they're not going to say, oh well, most of the time they're not going to give you that contact at first. They'll say it's marginal, or you didn't dislodge the player, or whatever the case may be. But you can't call touch fouls on Embiid on one side and let them maul Cat on the other. I'll say that. But that being said, he did shoot 7 free throws in 16 minutes, so it's not like he didn't get to the line, the other day.
Geoff, I just want to interject real quick. I noticed that right away. Maybe the Knicks did say something. Soon as he put the ball on the floor to drive, they called the foul. I said, oh, whoa. Maybe the Knicks have, brought it to the attention of the front office. I noticed that right away they were calling the riding of the hip early. Let's see if it continues.
Here's my thing, though, with Cat, and I love Cat. You can't let how the game is being called affect your mental and affect the rest of what you're doing. That's the thing with me. Like, you have to come in, you get a terrible whistle. You have to come in expecting a terrible whistle and just play through it. Like, the rest of this, it's not doing you any favors. It's not doing us any good. It's you're sabotaging yourself, and you're setting yourself up to not play as well. So protect your attitude, expect it, and just move forward. Don't get caught up in all of that, nonsense is what it is, and just play through it and be the superstar that you are. That's how you get back at it. When you rise above it and you're getting hacked and you just do your thing anyway, then to me, that's the best revenge. Not to, get yourself taken out of the game, in a high leverage game, that's a lot worse to me. And so, that's mental toughness. And I'm not one who ascribes softness to Cat. I think he plays through injury. I think he gets hit a lot. And so I don't think you can do those things and not be tough, but I think he does need to toughen up a little bit with his mentality and just say, okay, and he's not the only guy. Josh Hart is very much the same way. He gets into that frame of mind a lot of times too, and so I think it's almost a team-wide issue. And I think those things are contagious, because I know, when I was coaching, when even not even the team, when the fans would start to harp and dwell on it, it would just become, that's all you can focus on. That's all you can think of. Well, forget about that. Just play ball.
Yeah.
I think the NBA has a problem overall, because the disparaging difference yesterday, like you say, Steph, there can be multiple things as far as being right, as far as also, going opposite ways. But I think yesterday, why the game looks so disparagingly crazy is because you got two centers that get the opposite as far as how calls go. Joel Embiid gets every little nick and cranny, and he makes a mockery of the game as well as he does it, because he knows that this is what these officials subscribe to. So you're looking at him getting Knick touch calls, and you're looking at Cat catch a beat down. Yeah, as a fan, it's definitely going to drive us batty. But the separation point of it is that, hey, Cat mentally, in order for this team, like you say, to get to a point of a championship, he's got to be better mentally. I'm just not under the, after a while, to me, if you show me who you are, I'm going to believe you. And at this stage is I'm believing in Cat who's telling me who he is. So at that stage, I just don't think that mentally, and believe me, I'm a Knick fan. As anybody in the chat, this is not an indictment to say, hey, Cat's the worst. What's in here? There are other mitigating factors in it. And the mitigating factors in it is his teammates, his coach, for sure, and the management that supports behind it. And right now, I just think that him and Brown, their relationship is going this way. I believe him and some of the team members are also going this way. If you picked up the audio of Hart yelling at him on the floor, get up, let's go, get up. And what he said as far as in the media, and to a point where about as far as touches with the ball, it starts to make you start, this picture is starting to clear up a bit of where that this team's focal point of areas where they need to clean up and get better. And at this stage, a lot of I just don't think that is a good, cohesive relationship between players, coach, and Cats between the middle of that. It doesn't look like it's helping him in ways. And by all rights, we did hire a coach to make him better. So I don't know if they're going to then say, hey, Mike, you're going out the door, or Cat's going out the door. But right now, it looks like, a lot of some of it is unfairly dumped on Cat. But it is also, if you're 30-something% of a team's budget, you're going to get this kind of criticism. I don't care who says what, where, why, and whatever team. This is the point of the nature of the business. You accept that much of the pie. Hey, it's like anybody else in the house. Hey, you ate all the pizza. I didn't. What's name had pizza too? And what's name had pizza? Yeah, but you had 3 slices. I got a problem with that. So that's just the nature for me. Sorry, I'm a little long-winded today.
That's fine. Criticism is fair. Scapegoating is not.
You froze for a second. I'm sorry.
No, I said criticism is fair.
Okay.
Scapegoating is not. And I think Cat is being scapegoated for what's going on with this team. And what I need from this team, from top to bottom, is to shut the fuck up. Shut up. Mike Brown calling out players in the locker in press conference. Josh, and I am a huge Josh Hart fan. I love his effort. I love what he brings to this team when he's really rolling. You're going to talk about, you don't want to hear about touches. You want to hear about block shots. Well, I want to hear about you not over-rotating. I want to hear about you not giving up 3-point shots. I want to hear you talk about Jalen Brunson playing how his defense has dropped off from last season, how he's not fighting over screens. He's been a little better these past few games, don't get me wrong. But if don't just, this is what I'm trying to say. It's the low-hanging fruit that now, in all fairness, he was asked a question about Towns and his offensive struggles. So I get that. But there's a better way to answer that question. There's a better way to answer that question when your defense is not on point and your roommate's defense is not on point. This is not the time. So this is what I'm saying about the cracks in the armor. All you had to do was when a team is together, you could tell because they rally around each other. They don't point fingers at each other. They rally around you. Now in the locker room, they may say, look, look, enough is enough. But they keep that united front. He will figure it out. Right now, as a team, we need to focus defensively. He's a good offensive player. He'll come around. We'll come around offensively. Defensively, we all need to get it together. All of these little things that's coming out the locker room just lets me know this team is not locked in. And it all matters. All of it matters if you're trying to win a championship. I don't know. That's just my take on it.
agree.
Yeah. Geoff, anything you want to add?
I, to me, I just I don't think it's an effort issue with Towns. That's the other thing that I want to say. I think Towns plays hard. Like, I don't think you can grab as many rebounds as he grabs. And even in, I guess he only had 6, but he only played 16 minutes the other night. So if his normal minutes load, he's on pace for another double-digit rebounding game. If you want to say he doesn't play smart all the time, 100%. But I don't ever think that he just goes out and gives a halfway effort. In my opinion, he plays hard. His process isn't always amazing. I'll grant you that, but I think that could be said about a lot of players on this team. So I think that's it. And off topic a little bit, but one thing that I did want to mention. One thing that we haven't really talked about is that the Knicks had 27 assists on like 41 made field goals yesterday, and that's that in addition to we were plus 16 shots because of the rebounding differential that Knick Nation so astutely pointed out before. And so to me, that's kind of Knick brand basketball. When we're at our level best is when we're dominating the offensive glass and we're spreading the ball. And you noticed, at least I did, that the cutting and the baseline was fierce, and there was a lot of it. There was a lot of movement with the ball, without the ball, a lot of screening away from the ball, getting guys open, but always there wasn't a whole lot of standing still against Philadelphia. And I think that activity on both ends of the floor, it wasn't just on offense, because on defense, again, they were fighting through screens better than they have most of the season, especially in that third quarter, and they were active. And that activity is something that, they're playing less minutes. We should be seeing more of that, right? I mean, I know he tightened up the rotation some, but they had a couple days off. That helped, I'm sure, but that activity is something that we need to see from this team moving forward, because that's when we create the advantages that make this offense deadly and dynamic, as opposed to stagnant and stale, which it tends to get when we go into ISO mode.
Yeah, that when Shamet hit that big 3, it was the ball movement that created that, and the same thing with OG. The Knicks just kept moving it so they can find a better shot, and it got to the corner, and OG knocked it down, and Shamet knocked it down. And I thought the player movement as well. Shamet cut back during the third quarter. Brunson hit him. So the player and the ball movement was there last night. There were a few possessions where I thought Brunson over dribbled, but for the most part, I didn't see that. And in the first half, I noticed that he really wasn't bringing the ball down the court at all.
No,
It was
played off the ball quite a bit. You're right, 100%.
Mostly Hart, I believe, was bringing the ball up the court in the first half. So I think that was a schematic. I think that was schematic, to not have him trying to bring the ball up the court against those, defensive wings, possession in and possession out. So I thought that was good as well. Anything else we want to talk about before we, get to the chat? I mean, we mentioned it before, 19-5 in terms of offensive rebounds, 26-4 second chance points. The Knicks took 16 more shots than Philly. I think they only turned the ball over, if I'm not mistaken, 10 times.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
So, that fourth quarter was a little more like cardiac Knicks. I think we were up 8 points with like 43 seconds or something like that. And then I said, oh, this is shades of the Pacers. Game 1 in the Pacers series. When I'm like, oh, this is over. And then here you go. One time somebody mentioned it in the chat. I thought we should have held the ball out. Somebody is pulled the ball out. They trying to score. Like, we don't need a score right now. Just dribble and run the clock out. This is some of the process stuff with the Knicks. Anything else before we get to the chat?
I think the one thing, like you said, to piggyback on that, as far as the next 6, 7 games, the scheduling is so much better for us. This has allowed us to, come in and get more of a mental focus on what we need to do and clean up, a few things. Having 2 days off here, having another 2 days off here. This is a point where I think Mike and them have gotten a point to take advantage of that and clean up some things. And right now, our focus out there on specific points of what you need to do for your job definitely look better. So I'm hoping that we can go on a good 6, 7 game run here and really kind of get back to the core of what we need to do to be successful to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to your point, Queen, just to piggyback off of what you said about the first half, Hart actually led us in assists with 7, and a lot of that had to do with those first half minutes where he was legitimately the point guard for whatever you want to call it, and he didn't turn the ball over a bunch either. So you got to kind of I think that's good in the sense that if he's got a big on him, if they're guarding him with a 4 or a 5, and that's a perfect responsibility for him. You know what I mean? Because he can do that very easily because they can't stay with him off the dribble. And then if they're not guarding him with a 4 or 5, that leads to better matchups for Towns and for Brunson. And so because it kind of normalizes how they're defending us. So I think that is a revolving door that works in our favor both ways.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to the chat. We appreciate you.
Super chat, by the way. I don't know, Paris Duggar.
I see. I see that. Thanks, Geoff.
Okay.
We appreciate you. We tried to get up as much as we can through the during the show, and then we'll get to some now and comment on some. Paris Duggar, don't know what's been said. Great job by Bridges and OG for shutting down that backcourt. That's why we won. We made Embiid try to beat us with 2s. We got to accept this is how all our wins look like. Okay. Good morning, Latoria. Appreciate you.
Good morning.
Rocking with us. Okay. David Smith, Embiid gets every call and Cat gets the complete opposite. Imagine Cat had Embiid's whistle. Yeah.
I agree.
He would live at the line, which early in the season I thought he was. Like there were games he would get there like 10 times, 9 times. That's definitely slowed down. Jamrock always. Some of those referee calls were horrendous. I really thought so as well. And shout out to Mike Brown for using that last timeout to challenge the foul on Brunson. And come to find out he was fouled first. So, and those calls, even then, sometimes they'll take a look at it and just overlook the first foul. So thank goodness that they didn't do that last night. But I did think that the officials were horrendous last night. He also said, glad we won. Defense in the third quarter was really good, but not going to lie, there was some boneheaded plays down the stretch turnover-wise. Definitely agree. Say less NYC, this team needs to get back to prioritizing defense, right? Which is different than just trying to play good defense, prioritizing it. And you would see that in schemes and you would see that in lineups. Yeah. Good point. I think I've kind of crossed over as far as that's concerned. I might shift back to the offense. We'll see. But I think I'm starting.
Does that mean you think we should start Landry or Deuce?
Yeah. That would be fine too. Or at least play those lineups more. Either way. Keith Turner need to make a big trade at the deadline because this team, as constructed, isn't winning a championship. The roster still needs a lot of work. Okay. All right. Yeah. David Smith, Cat gets fouled before he uses the hook. The refs don't call it fairly. Come on, stop assuming Cat's always at fault. Be objective. All right. 2 things can be true. Cat can be making boneheaded plays, and the officials can be missing calls. right? I think that's what's happening. And you guys feel free to comment on any of these if you want.
Yeah.
Doc, the Knicks clearly need a point guard and extra ball handler on the court at all times. They are disorganized and without a game plan when Jalen sits down. No one is capable. Trade for that. I definitely would like to see a more of a and to also play with Brunson, right? Because sometimes Brunson's process is not great. I would like to see that as well. I think at this point, Deuce and Shamit, are doing a decent job, but the playoffs are a different story.
Yeah, no, I think that is a fair assessment. That is a player that we do need. I'm not sure if we're going to get actually a point guard per se, but somebody at least to take the load for a few minutes. Somebody, what I mean, even if he's a 6'7", 6'6", 6'8" guy, if he can just help, bring the ball down sometime, or get downhill, a bit somewhat to get to the basket and have a good defense. If we can bring in somebody like that, by all means, I'm all for it.
To your point, do you think, and then to you, Geoff, and the chat can chime in as well, is it more about needing another point guard, floor general type guy who can process what we need at any point in time, really good ball handler, defender, or somebody that, it could be both, that can get into the key and create for himself and create for others besides Brunson?
I just think it's unrealistic to think that we could get somebody like that at this late stage in the, as far as the basketball, schedule here. And, there's a lot of injuries. We want to talk about our injuries. If you look around the league, a lot of these teams, a lot of these people are injured. And I don't know if there's somebody out there like that. I mean, we would love that. I just don't think that practicality will meet the road and say, yeah, you're going to get that. I just don't see it happening. If Leon could pull it off, hey, he's the man of the year. But right now,
which one do we need the most?
Which one do we need the most?
Yeah, is it more of a point guard type, or we just need somebody that can get in the key and create for himself and others?
I think that more create for themselves and get downhill. Just to say, hey, where Brunson is out for that few minutes, we have somebody else who can then, efficiently get downhill. Not just somebody who can, but efficiently get downhill.
Okay. East Blue Drew, the Deuce and Mitch minutes are great defensively since last year. Now adding Shamit, teams can't breathe. Okay. All right. Anagra 1, Embiid flops Bates, and it is disrespectful. Feels like a memo is out on Cat. You might be right about that. Might be right. Ribby RM, y'all Cat stands need to relax. I'm not sure what a stand is. Is that like a fan who's not objective? What is a stand? Does anyone know?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, someone who just defends a player to the death, I guess, without necessarily logic or reason, just gotcha. From an emotional standpoint, I guess.
Yeah, I think each of us have the we can fan how we fan. Fan how you fan. I think at least here, this is what being a collective is that whatever your takes are on a player, you're welcome here. If you want to go over the top on a player and only see one side, you're welcome here. If you want to be super objective, you're welcome here. Kim Doc, Josh is talking because he is the sole vocal leader. Y'all want to hear from Mikal or OG? LOL, OL, come on. I mean, I don't mind Josh talking. I'm just saying, Don't point out something that you're not even doing well. And listen, I don't know if it was that particular comment before it or after it. He did say himself that he needs to be better defensively. Keith Turner, Brunson is very limited, but you know why he isn't being talked about a lot is because he works hard, put in the effort, and he does try. I don't see that. I saw that more last year. I see that more over the past few games, but there's been a drop off in Brunson defensively this season. Is that just me
The
or
stats back that up completely. He's like 1th percentile or something, which is not good, guys. That's like the worst that you can be as far as guards in the league. Like he gets hunted like crazy defensively. So I think you're 100% right there. I think we have 2 more super chats from Parrish. I don't know if
okay. But last year I thought the effort was there though. Like he would fight over screens. He wasn't dying on screen. He was trying to move. I'm not seeing a lot of that this year. All right, let me get to the super chat. Parrish Duggar, this is how our playoff wins look. This is us. Okay. Parrish Duggar, I'm a cat critic. I have found no fault in him. BS refs. Okay. I'm not sure what rage bait is, but like I said, I'm a fan and this is my channel. And so if I want to, I give my opinions, and if I run hot sometimes, so what? If it doesn't work from you, you don't have to listen. If I feel strongly about something, I'm gonna vocalize it strongly, right? If you've been here for a while, you already know, what it is. East Blue Drew, last night was the reset. Okay. Being scapegoated is where I disagree, but it's all good. I respect everyone's opinion. Okay. I just think he's being talked about more than everyone else, is what I mean. And sure, his performance hasn't been great. He's been inefficient. He's made boneheaded plays. He gets out of it mentally. All of that is true. But there are other players on this team as well that we don't talk about enough. We don't talk about OG enough, who was great last night. We don't talk about Bridges enough. We talk about them, but not enough. It's always cat, but we're not talking about the other players. And that's what I mean by being scapegoated. Let's spread this shit around. Spread it around. It's not just cat. All right. I think anything else you guys see that shout out to Carrie Cox. Appreciate you. Definitely hit the like button.
Okay, because you can't do it from here. I gotta go.
Okay. Jabroni says, look at Eminem's song "Stand to Understand the Meaning." It's basically an irrational fanatic. Well, I don't see any of that here. Some fans go harder for their players than others. Okay. All right. Any last words?
I'm gonna say that first of all, it's kind of fun to get to do one of these Sunday shows. We had the church canceled, so I actually got to hop on. It's always a pleasure. Knick Nation, always bringing it with I love how you break down the play-by-play and the defense and the blitzing and all that stuff. So I appreciate your perspective, Queen. You already know you're the best, and the chat just coming in hot on a Sunday morning. These people ain't even had their coffee yet, and they're already percolating and debating and taking their sides and defending their folks. So we appreciate y'all so much, and this is and it's really cool to see. So I appreciate y'all very much.
Yeah. Nick, I gotta remember not to put that S. Nick.
Nick, yes. No, thank you. And like I say, oh yeah, definitely, Geoff, definitely. It is always a pleasure, to come on. And Geoff, great takes as far as, you help keep me centered, your mild manner, you know what I mean, in positive direction. definitely help keeps me centered, and I definitely appreciate you. Queen, as always, definitely is always a pleasure. You know, you keep us honest. You know what I mean? You say what's on your mind, and people have to learn. You know what I mean? We should all learn to respect that point. That's just as what it is. It's a take. None of us are ultimately professionals at this. We're doing what we can and we do what we love. And that's the point of this, is that, not getting paid for this. I love to do this. So this is where our energy lies. And, people in the chat, hey, listen here, you guys up early with us. You guys,
Right.
feisty on a Sunday morning, on an icy snow morning. We definitely appreciate you, And I think it was just Latoria who talked about, as far as, yeah, there are definitely so many things and so many other players that we can point out and be critical of. You're so right.
Yeah.
It's just that Cat is a polarizing figure that was, newly implemented, you know, for better or for worse. We traded for a player who was actually beloved as well here. So a lot of times I think that's where it comes from, is that, we may say all these other things about Randall, this or that, but Randall was one of the key factors that started us off, and the building blocks in which then began to project us. So, you know, were we upset with him at a certain points and he was removed? Yes. But there are a lot of people and a lot of, Knick fans who still have that loyalty to a point of where, for a player who was really that good. So I think that's why a lot of times he gets targeted sometimes too. But overall, yeah, believe me, there's a lot of players across the board that we could critique. I came out and critiqued. I didn't say as far as Mikhail, because I saw it clearly. Mikhail was just having a bad game. I thought it was Mike's Brown who specifically has to be able to see that and say, hey, you're killing us here. Pull out, bring somebody in. So there were definitely points of, where we could critique a whole long of things. And unfortunately, it's an hour, an hour and a half show. So,
Yeah.
we'd be here on the run. We'd be here on the run 4 or 5 hours right now.
Right. I don't know. I thought Randall was more criticized than Cat. Like that, the venom against Randall was all day, every day, no matter what, no matter what he did. Well, there was always one guy on the
I think Cat's right there.
at least on this show, it was, I thought it was venomous too. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, like that's what this show is about. Everybody coming on, giving their opinions, and we don't have to agree. And I like the fact that when we disagree, it's all love. It's just a different take on the matter, and that's exactly what I want. Parish Doug, sometimes we would talk about this behind the scenes. Rest in peace to Stafford Don, how we miss him. Because he would always come and kind of get us riled up, Anyway, Nick Nation, I appreciate you. Jeff Klafter, I appreciate you. Ribby RM, Kev Berg, David Smith, Parish Duggar, all of you guys. A-Train sneaking in here late. Latoria B, appreciate you. Silent listeners, the replay gang. Yeah, we our next game is Tuesday. At Sacramento. We got 4 games, next week. So an opportunity at Portland next week. None of these are gimmies, the way the Knicks have been playing of late, but some really winnable games.
Let's go on a run. Let's get back to that's what I want to see. What Nick Nation already beat me to the punch on that one, but let's take advantage and go on a run and get back to healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Until next time, family. Appreciate you.
Since
sister, you're one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine.